The war started for me when my daughter came to me in the morning. It was like 5 a.m. It was night, it was dark, and she told me that war started. She heard some sound, she checked the phone, read the news, and woke us up. I've seen a lot of cars moving from Kyiv to north or somewhere. We decided to stay home because we knew that we have enough food, autonomic heating. We understood that we could survive, even being isolated, and we didn't expect the military troops to go through our city. It was very bad feeling how enemy is occupying your country, your town. Explosions started, but they were far from us. But we could hear that. The bridges was exploded. We understood that we like on the island, and we cannot escape on car anymore. My first fear was not about the war. I understood then we are occupied, but Russian troops, they didn't leave any soldiers in our village. They just passed by, occupied our region. There was some war conflicts and some shell bombing in near villages around us, but not in our village. We have lost any governance, we have lost any law enforcement, and we are now in the gray area and should protect their house by themselves. Only your lifetime, it is daytime. We should wake up at sunrise to utilize all the sunlight day we have. When it goes dark, it's time to turn to the dark mode. And you're trying to finish your house activities, to wash your dishes, to check if you have enough water, move some food out, because our street was like a refrigerator. We kept our products outside, and the children asked, "Daddy, please don't close windows till the end, to the last sight of the sun." The night starts, and it is another rules. It is, you cannot leave your house, you cannot leave your yard at all. There is no help, there is no assistance. You could not go anywhere. The light in your house should not be visible from outside at all. If we spent some time to adjust in our house to these restrictions, we was covered in the windows. Somehow we have isolated one room, and we lived in that room, and even the candle, it is very attractive for target when you're outside. At the second day in the morning, we woke up maybe at 5 or 6 a.m. from sound of tanks and other military vehicles. This is when I made weapons. We have used to dark mode. And the evening of the second day, around our village, there were started severe war conflicts. So I see the battle. It was night, and I see a lot of explosions, a lot of tracers, maybe some drones, Ukrainian drones was flying around that tanks, and tanks was trying to shoot the drone. Some Ukrainian artillery strike at those tanks, and everything was exploding 1 kilometer from me. It was maybe first time I have seen this military activity so close to me, but that fighting don't last more than 1 or 2 hours. Tanks don't go through the fields. They just go through the usual roads. But usual artillery, it is not such precise. It's like area destruction, and they destruct tanks, buildings around it. My house was damaged by explosion. I had a shell exploded 5 meters near my house, and I think that it was Ukrainian bomb. But I'm totally okay with that, because that bomb was for Russians. That's somewhere nearby, and okay, that happens at war. And the third day, in the morning, we had again explosions, and we had some jets flying over our house. some another troops moving by the road, and that became a routine. Any day from 26 to the time when we escaped was almost the same. We escaped at March 9th. So yeah, we spent 2 weeks in these circumstances. The third day started from electricity shutdown and never turned it on till now. We had to prepare food for kids 2 or 3 times a day on the street using firewood. It is technically it's like camping.
Yeah.
Problem is there is war around you. It was real war already. There are helicopters flying, there are tanks moving, they're shooting. Something explode there, some explode there. It takes some time to start that fire, to boil the water, to start cooking. And if you are interrupted, you will not have a meal for this. And we had several times very severe bombing started, like severe, very near to us. What, shall we stop eating? No. No, because if we stopped, we couldn't hit it. And my battery is already low, I need to recuperate. Before war, I had some surgery on my leg.
Okay.
And I have had some scars. It was almost recovered. But because of cold and because of my big activity, it became worse. At the 4th day of war, for me personally, I get this scar. It was hot. I got a temperature, and I didn't have antibiotics. And I realized that as real threat to my life, there is no medicine around.
Yeah.
I don't have antibiotics. That I can literally die from this infection. Not from hunger, but from this. Sound of explosion is not unimaginable and are not reproducible with any sound device. You feel it like somebody's punching your entire body. And it is impossible to don't be afraid of that, because when it is exploding, your windows are shaking, like ding. Even these windows is like and they are everywhere, those explosions, but periodically. 2 hours quiet, then 30 minutes of some activity around you. Then again some quiet, then again some activity.
Okay.
So during the day, always in the morning and always at night. We only heard the sound of rockets flying to Kyiv or to Ukraine, because they have very specific sound. It has one engine and it is relatively quiet, and it is like a whisper. You sleep, but you hear that whisper around you. The most frightening for me was hand rifles. I mean, if you hear the machine gun, it means it's very close, and it can be anywhere, and it can be directed anywhere. We even interacted with those neighbors who we didn't interact before. But I had an electricity generator and some gas. At some time, I will launch the generator and they can charge your phones. Another feeling when you are at war, you never dry your personal energy battery. I mean, 70% of your battery is very reason to stop doing anything and to recuperate. It is also cold. As we didn't have a heat, the temperature within our house never rised up more than 13 degrees. Mostly it was like 9 or 10 degrees.
Yeah.
And you never go down very much. You separate you from your assets. You understand that you don't have nothing. Nothing is granted. You shouldn't protect your property because you don't have a property. Anytime it can disappear with explosions. For example, first night I was thinking, I will protect my house, I will kill criminals. In some days I was thinking, if they will arrive, okay, just take whatever you want. I don't have anything that I should protect more than my daughter. You understand that you use it until you have possibility to use it. You're preparing to be able to leave your house anytime, and you're just waiting and sleeping, waiting for knock in the door or in your yard, and you're afraid to don't make them too angry and to wait you for a very long time. Worst nightmare was my daughter to be raped and me not be able to do something like that. I will prefer to die trying to prevent this. And I was preparing to this scenario that I will maybe die trying to stop this. She didn't say anything. I don't know till now what she think about it. I have younger son, and we tried to encapsulate him. We told him, go play Lego, go read books.
Sure.
There's no way to escape. Any road to get to Kyiv, it is by that road where tanks goes,
Okay.
and where tanks die. Either you will be killed by tanks or troops that are going by that road, or you will be killed by artillery shooting into those tanks. So it was no feeling that you can escape at all. In national news, there was no mentioning about our village and our situation, that we are totally blocked, that we don't have food supply, we don't have electricity, we don't have any way to escape. 7th of March, I saw first people walking by that road. Impossible place to walk by. It was 3 children and 1 woman, and there was something white on their clothes, and some white flag made from t-shirt. They were silently and slowly walking. That road was road for death. They could die there. It was situation became desperate for most of people. There was no food. The 7th of March, as we later understood, some troops, Russian troops, that was beaten by Ukrainian army in Irpin in Bucha, they escaped to our town, and they have settled in the some industrial building near us.
Yeah.
From 7 to 8, it was very noisy night. There was a lot of gun shooting. And we have seen some houses burning around that. It was 8th of March. Some neighbors told me those troops came to all houses around there, killed dogs, and took food. And we understood that danger, real danger, occupation, is just nearby. And also we had heard the news that those people who are walking by the road of death, they succeed, and there is a road to Kyiv. 8th of March, they say we go,
Yeah.
and they go,
Yeah.
and a lot of people go,
Yeah.
and that road was crowded. During the war, we became very close with our neighbors. We were supporting, we was exchanging.
Yeah.
We have some arrangement about protections, and at least I can run somewhere when my house is bombed. I told, shall we go? Do we go? And the wife told, it's 2 p.m. It is 10 kilometers to go to the border line. I have leg problem. I cannot go fast. We will not get there till the darkness, and it is death to be on the street at night. So we decided not to go now. A lot of people around me, they leave, they walk away, and it was like exodus. And it was very emotional pain, because your area, your street, your city, it was alive, but it is bleeding. It bleed out with citizens, and only empty house remains. I said them goodbye, good luck, call us, explain how you get there, how did you escape from our, let's say, island. One of our neighbors who was left, who stayed with us, he called me, Dima, alarm. We see people from the house at the very start of our street. They was running with pain faces. People I didn't seen such faces before, like people who Russian troop told us to leave our home. They are living in our home now. It was house number 2 and my house number 8. It is already 5 p.m. and it is 1 hour to dark mode. We couldn't go. And that day maybe was the first day when I didn't close the gate at all. I don't want anything to stop them. I was prepared to have a dialogue, and we started gathering our stuff and decided we go. We go, whatever happens, we shouldn't stay here. Next morning we go. And that time my neighbors who escaped, they told me some men have somehow agreed with Russians. Maybe he gave them vodka, I don't know. But they allowed him, and only him, to drive people from one village to another village. And they told me, he will pick up you. Just leave Dymer. So you understood that you can, no suitcases. Yeah. Only sack. You need to decide what to put in that only sack that you will bring with you. We decided what to leave. We packed our life in those sacks for everybody. And next morning we escaped. That was the first time and the only time when we saw the Russian soldiers on our street. We walked on the street and there was Russian soldiers there. They was relatively calm. They were just looking for water. We were lucky. They didn't touch us. We came to the road. We was picked up. The only adventure was left. The bridge was broken, but the river started flowing. It was some piece of bridge. It was iron tube of this thing underwater like this, and you walk by that pipe, looking on it through water, balancing from this some pieces of beton. We survived. So the occupation part was over. I took my family in a safe place. I'm in a safe place. I have work. So I feel lucky, survival, something like this. I have sometimes nightmares, flashbacks, and it is a relatively traumatic experience. Everything that is recalling me to me being there in that state make me come back to that feeling and that being there in that condition of anxiety and constant threat that is still affecting me.